The pressure of their careers and personal struggles began to bring Tom and Dick Smothers closer together. They started to care for each other in ways they hadn't before, forming a bond that helped them through 72 episodes of their groundbreaking show. CBS, however, had very strict rules about what could and couldn't appear on television. Every second of the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour was checked by censors, every line reviewed carefully to make sure it followed the network standards. But on September 17, 1967, something unexpected made it onto the air. The censors missed it, the director didn't notice, and even Tom and Dick themselves were unaware of what had happened until later. During a live performance by The Who, the cameras accidentally captured something in the background that confirmed what many had long suspected but could never prove. The Smothers Brothers' story began with loss. Their father, Major Thomas B. Smothers Jr., served as an army officer during World War II. When Japan invaded the Philippines in 1941, their mother, Ruth Smothers, and her two young sons, Tom and Dick, were evacuated, but their father was captured. He was forced to take part in the brutal Bataan Death March and later sent to Fukuoka Prison Camp No. 22 in Japan. As the war came to an end in 1945, he became too ill to continue working. On April 25, he was transferred to Korea, but he never made it. Some reports say he was buried at sea. Others say he was cremated in Korea. Of the 110 men transferred with him, only 36 survived. Major Smothers was the last to die. After his death, Ruth raised her two boys alone, working long hours to make ends meet. Life was difficult, but those hardships shaped the humor that would later make Tom and Dick famous. Their first big break came in 1959 at San Francisco's Purple Onion, a small but popular nightclub. They were originally booked for 2 weeks but became such a hit that they performed there for 36 weeks straight. Audiences loved their clever mix of folk music and comedy. One night, when a flamenco dancer was injured and couldn't perform, the brothers filled in, winning over the crowd with their quick wit and unique style. By the end of their run, they were earning $2,000 a week, a huge jump from the $2 a night they had been making just months earlier. Their first record, The Smothers Brothers at the Purple Onion, was released in 1961 and officially launched their professional career. Their comedic style had started years earlier when Tom formed a college music group called the Casual Quintet. He played guitar, and Dick learned to play bass just so he could join. When the other members eventually left, Tom and Dick continued performing together. Between songs, they started telling small jokes to fill time, and the audience loved their funny back-and-forth arguments. It quickly became clear that people were laughing just as much at their banter as they were enjoying the music. This playful sibling rivalry became their trademark. On stage, Tom acted as the goofy, innocent brother, while Dick played the serious, frustrated one. Their famous line, "Mom always liked you best," came straight from their real-life relationship, which made their comedy feel genuine and relatable. By the mid-1960s, CBS was desperate for a hit show to compete with NBC's Bonanza, which dominated Sunday nights. Hoping to attract a younger audience, CBS took a risk on the Smothers Brothers. The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour premiered on February 5, 1967. At first, it seemed like just another family-friendly variety show, even being introduced by Ed Sullivan as All-American Boys. But it didn't take long for viewers to realize that these brothers were different. They weren't afraid to tackle serious issues. They made jokes about politics, the Vietnam War, and authority figures, something almost unheard of at the time. Their comedy had meaning. It made people think while making them laugh. Within just 2 weeks, their ratings beat Bonanza. Young audiences loved them, advertisers were thrilled, and Tom and Dick suddenly became symbols of a new, bold era of television. Before signing with CBS, Tom had demanded full creative control over the show, a rare deal back then. CBS agreed because they needed a hit so badly. That creative freedom allowed the brothers to take risks. They invited controversial guests like Pete Seeger, who sang anti-war songs, and used their platform to challenge the government, even daring to make fun of President Lyndon Johnson. Every episode felt unpredictable, and that energy kept audiences hooked. Their battle with CBS censors became part of their legacy. Every sketch and song was carefully scrutinized, often rewritten or cut, but instead of backing down, the brothers turned censorship into comedy. They joked about it on air, openly mocking the network's restrictions. Their writer's room became a training ground for some of the most talented comedians and creators in television history, including Steve Martin, Rob Reiner, Lorne Michaels, and David Steinberg. Together, they helped reshape television comedy, paving the way for future classics like Saturday Night Live, All in the Family, and The Mary Tyler Moore Show. By 1968, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour had become more than just a show. It was a movement that reflected the changing times. On October 6th of that year, they made television history by airing the Beatles' promotional film for Hey Jude in the United States for the first time. British audiences had already seen it weeks earlier, but for Americans, this was groundbreaking. Filmed at Twickenham Studios on September 4th, the video showed the Beatles performing with a full orchestra and 300 fans joining in to sing the finale. It was a joyful moment that symbolized unity and creativity, especially emotional since Ringo Starr had just rejoined the band after briefly quitting. The following week, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour aired The Beatles Revolution. 2 Beatles videos airing back-to-back on American television was unprecedented. Other shows, like The Ed Sullivan Show, would never have been allowed to do that. The Smothers Brothers had special access, and the courage to take risks that others wouldn't. That decision didn't just entertain audiences. It changed television forever, proving that comedy, music, and culture could blend to create something powerful and lasting. In 1967, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour made national headlines for one of the boldest moves in television history. Folk singer Pete Seeger, who had been blacklisted for almost 17 years, was invited to perform on the show. In September of that year, Seeger sang Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, a song that openly criticized President Lyndon Johnson's handling of the Vietnam War. CBS refused to air the performance, censoring it before it could reach the public. But Tom Smothers wouldn't back down. He went to the press, ensuring everyone knew that CBS had silenced Seeger's anti-war message. The public backlash was so intense that CBS had no choice but to let Seeger come back. On February 25, 1968, millions of Americans finally saw him perform the song, completely uncensored. It was a historic moment. The first time a blacklisted artist had openly criticized a sitting U.S. president on national television. That performance proved that protest music could break through even the toughest censorship walls. Between 1967 and 1969, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour became a cultural hub for musicians and artists that other shows wouldn't dare to feature. Bands like The Who, The Doors, Jefferson Airplane, Buffalo Springfield, and Steppenwolf all appeared on the program, bringing energy and rebellion to American homes. The Who's appearance was especially unforgettable. They ended their performance by smashing their instruments on stage. Drummer Keith Moon took things even further, secretly loading his drum kit with explosives for the band's performance of My Generation. When the explosion went off, it was far more powerful than anyone expected. The blast sent smoke and debris flying across the stage, damaged Pete Townshend's hearing permanently, and even knocked Moon backward. Amid the chaos, Townshend grabbed Tom Smothers' acoustic guitar and smashed it to pieces. For young viewers, it was the ultimate act of rebellion. For older audiences, it was shocking and out of control. That single explosive moment became one of the most legendary performances in TV history, symbolizing the generational divide between tradition and change. The show also welcomed other groundbreaking artists. The Doors performed Touch Me with a full orchestra, while Jefferson Airplane sang Crown of Creation, a haunting reflection on nuclear war. Buffalo Springfield performed For What It's Worth, a defining protest anthem of the 1960s, and Steppenwolf brought raw energy with Born to Be Wild. Not everyone in the entertainment industry supported the Smothers Brothers, but the music world admired their courage. On April 26, 1969, at the Los Angeles Forum, Jimi Hendrix stopped his show to dedicate a song to Tom and Dick Smothers. He called them heroes for giving artists and activists a voice on national television, even though CBS had just cancelled their show for being too controversial.